lovelies, welcome back to another tutorial. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely, where we carry the largest selection of wood flowers in the United States. This is a fun one, y'all. We are gonna dive into one of the flowers that you probably look at it and go, is that gonna be pretty? Yes, yes it will. Let's dive in to the lovely, albeit a little shabby, Sophia Rose. Let's do it. Welcome to the deep dive of Sophia. Sophia does come in multiple sizes. She actually has 4 different sizes. Her little itty bitty baby one. Oh, so cute. And we've got like our little mid-size, normal kind of size, 2.5 inch. Then we've got 3 inch, and this is where it really, the shabbiness starts to show herself. And then the big guy. Look at her. Now, funny story about Sophia. When we first got this flower in, and we've had her pretty much the entire existence of Oh You're Lovely, we were a little worried. We were a little worried, and we're looking at those flowers like, that wasn't what we thought it was gonna look like. But then you dip dye her. Magical. So that's what we're going to do. I've got a couple different new colors. As I've mentioned in the previous tutorials recently, we're doing a big deep dive on a whole bunch of different style flowers right now. And I'm going to make an assortment, or not an assortment, an arrangement at the end of showing you all of these different lovely, lovely top flowers that we absolutely love. We'll make an assortment or an arrangement. Why do I keep saying assortment? I don't know, but I decided to bring in some other colors because we were pretty much pink and orange. So I pulled another yellow. I wanted to use our buttercup, but I'm out of buttercup. So instead I pulled the color Lemonade from Folk Art. Now here's a little tip though. The one pink color we're using for all of these, I've got to find it again. Oh, I lost it. It is from Bear. Vintage Tea Rose is the color. It's kind of like a muddled, kind of moody pink is the best way I guess I could describe it. So I added just a teeny tiny drop of that into the yellow to pull that color even just the slightest so that they all start to play together really well. I also have well, I take that back. I took the Vintage Tea Rose, and instead of dyeing it straight from that color, which what we've done in the past, I added the color Flamingo from our paint dye line. And then I also grabbed one more. This lovely color right here is a mixture of Flamingo, Fruit Punch, and the Vintage Tea Rose. So big old mix of that. So we've got a yellow, a darker pink, and that light pink. So everything's gonna start coming together. And then in the next, we have 2 more sessions after this. In the next 2 weeks, we're gonna just keep adding to that and adding to the collection of the flowers and the color story. I'm so excited. So let's get into it. We're going to dip dye for sure. We'll do some 2-toned effects. And I also wanna show you this little trick. I don't know if it's gonna work or not. It's completely out of our color story, but I just wanna see what's gonna happen, because sometimes magic, other times not so magical. So let's do that next. Okay, so before we really get into the color story that I've already picked, I wanna show you this little technique. Actually, a customer of ours showed it to us years ago, and it's a ton of fun to kind of play around with. So I'm just gonna grab a couple of the flowers. I'm only gonna grab one of each, and we're just gonna see what's happening. And then I'll grab some more 2.5s to fill out our collection of flowers. I'll find those in a second. I set them down. Okay, so this one I had a lid on. It's been sitting for a while, and when you let the paint sit, it settles. I don't want to tip it, because then it's gonna start mixing up the colors. We're gonna leave it settled. And you can let your paint, you can store your paint for a little while. I will say though, your sniffer, your nose is gonna tell you when it's time to toss it. It's gonna smell kind of rancid. But you can normally let the paint sit for a couple days, and be able to use it again after you mix it up. But we're gonna try not mixing it up. We're gonna just dip it and we're gonna see what happens. I'm very nervous about both of these, to be completely honest. So, all right, let's do it. So we're gonna go all the way to the bottom because I wanna grab whatever paint is sitting at the bottom. I don't remember what color paint this was to begin with, but there's definitely some pink in there. There's some orange happening. I'm gonna do a couple of these. Holy buckets, holy buckets. That one worked out. Yay for that. Did you gasp? Did you gasp with me? So again, we're gonna go back in there. Look at how sludgy that looks. It's that whole, you can't judge a book by its cover, right? So we're gonna go all the way down and then I'm gonna wiggling it at that base where the pink is kind of sitting. Oh my God. Oh, I'm obsessed. I am gonna rub around that paint just a little bit so we don't have too much like sitting on the edges. And then since I have pink on my fingers, I'm gonna just add. Do you see though how amazing this flower is once it's dyed? I mean, it's very pretty cream too. I would open it up a little bit. Oh, all right, I'm gonna take one little guy and that's the rest for that color. And I'm not gonna do nearly as much. I kind of want more of that browny kind of color. I'm actually kind of digging this brownish kind of yellow color. It kind of gives me cappuccino vibe flowers. So I might have to dye a couple more flowers off camera to have in my stash with that color. Magical. What did I tell you guys? Magical. All right, set that aside. Now this one, definitely you can see the blue sitting at the top, but there's other colors sitting at the bottom. This one I don't think will go with our color story, but you never know till you try. Plus, I don't have as much paint, so I'm gonna just kind of roll a little bit there. Yeah, not as jaw-droppingly amazing. It's fine, but that's all it is. It's just fine. Those though. Ha! Obsessed. Obsessed. All right, so let's grab our other colors. We'll just dip dye one of each to start, and then we'll get our paintbrush and we'll get a little creative. You're going to want to just mix up your paint a little bit. If you'd like a little bit more of a deep dive on getting the paint ready to go for dip dyeing, we have lots of other tutorials breaking down all of the ratios, answering your questions about glycerin, all that stuff. And I will make sure to link a thorough tutorial for you. If you wanna take a look at that, it'll explain all of the basic 101 working with wood flowers. So I'll make sure. I pinky promise I will include it this time. Hopefully, maybe. Yes, I will. Okay, we'll start. I'm just always I'm forgetful, you guys. Please leave it in the comments if I forget again, and I will happily get that link up. But let's see if I can do it on my own without having to be reminded. Just instant beauty, right? Instant beautimus. Like I said, Sophia is lovely all on her own, as is, but man, she just shines, I feel like, when she has a little color to her. Man alive, so pretty. So pretty. And there we go. So that is adding to our color story that we've got going, minus this little guy. He doesn't count, but here. We get asked, can you like have one color and then dye another color? Yeah, you can. And this one's kind of, they're blending together. I'm gonna let it sit and dry like that and see what happens. Oh, that's kind of fun. That is kind of fun. Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, so the two-tone, I think a good start to this. Let's do a bigger, we'll do a big yellow one. And I'm gonna open up my petals a little bit. And I think for this one, we're gonna do that fun little spinning technique. I'm just gonna go on the outer edge petals, keeping my finger kind of in the center to try not to get too much color dead center. Oh my gosh. I'm fine, are you fine? I'm not really fine. I am like so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I just can't hide it. All right, so we're gonna do a little guy. And this time, instead of just going around the edges, we're going to just quickly let it kiss the tips of the shabby petals. Just the smallest amount. Can you see the color shift that just happened? It's a subtle, very subtle. And then my hands are shaking ridiculously. Oh, so pretty. Let's see if we can actually do a three-toned. Okay, if I want to do a three-toned, also seeing there's a little bit of extra globby paint on that one. I want to clean that up a little bit. Okay, if I wanted a three-toned, let's start again with the yellow base. Okay. And I want to keep the yellow base, like the center yellow. Yeah. But I want, okay, my outer petals, we're gonna really twirl, trying to keep though just yellow in the center. Okay. Okay. Lovely. But now, while it's still wet, we're going to, oops, we're going to twirl ever so slightly around the outer, not too far down because we want some of that light pink to stick around, but just the edges. So now we've got a little bit of a darker color, a transition to that lighter pink, and then keeping that yellow there. And I think if you really wanted that other pink to really pop, wait until this is fully dry and then go in with your pink. Yeah, there we go. Oh my gosh. These make such cute succulents too. Sophia, she is a wonderful succulent. Can you see it? Especially that last one where you can do like all these transition colors. Man, oh man, I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. Okay, let's do this one in this color. And we'll get a paintbrush this time. And I'm going to make a mess. But on top of that, I'm going to, instead of dunking it first in yellow, I'm going to work with the yellow on top of the color, just in the center. So this yellow isn't going to be super bright. It's going to kind of fade into the color that we've got going on right now. But it gives a fun color transition. You don't have to cover all of the, like, it's okay. This flower is pretty shabby on its own. So you can be a little bit more messy with it, and it's not really gonna, it's not gonna look off because this whole flower is kind of got this little bit of shabbiness going on. It looks like it belongs there. Oh, so pretty, so pretty. Okay, so we got to do a two-toned with that color again, so we can keep pulling. Everything's kind of playing together. Oops. I'm just gonna kiss the petals. Oh, that's fun. That's fun. That's fun. We'll just do again, too. We'll add to it. Just gives it a little bit more dimension. So much fun. So much fun. Okay, I need to show you something else. I just thought about this. I wanna introduce you to one other flower real quick. So recently-ish, we introduced another style flower who I would consider to be like the cousin, the sister from another mister of Sophia, and that is Penny. Penny has these bark edges, but also still that shabby vibe. And I wanna show you what she looks like dyed, because the word of the day, right? Magical. And oh, Penny is magical. Again though, a rose that you're like, I'm not 100% sure about that one, but you will be once you see the two-toned effect she creates when dip dyed. So I'm just gonna grab, let me grab another tray. We're pretty full, and let's dip dye a couple pennies real quick. I'm just gonna do solid colors. I don't think we're gonna do two tones, because Penny creates a two-tone all on her own. And by the end of the video, it should be dried enough that you'll be able to see the paint kind of repelling. I can already see it in certain parts already. The paint repels off of that bark. So you get that brown tone kind of poking through. And it's just so interesting to see it with different color stories. So we're gonna dip a couple of these. We'll let them dry, and then you can see the magic that unfolds with the lovely Penny. What have we not done yet that we want to try to do? I do want to grab just a couple minis, because I call them minis, but the smaller ones, I want to have those kind of sprinkled throughout our arrangement that we're working on at the end. So we're just going to dip dye those guys. So we have some solid colors. And I feel like the bigger flowers really give us a good base to really extend our kind of color story and the gradation of different colors that we've got going on. All right, those two are sitting, or those three are sitting pretty easy enough. We've got our big guy, and we've got one more smaller one. So let's see, the smaller ones, let's do some sort of multiple color, because we do have, we have one of each color in the 2.5 inch. So let's just play a little bit. Oh, I know what we're gonna do. No additional point for me to add more glycerin, it's not needed. Okay, we're going to add a different color into the crevices way deep into that flower. So I'm gonna take my darker color and I'm gonna scrub down. And I actually, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna go straight out of the bottle of Flamingo. It's a brighter color. Since everything's still pretty wet, I can kind of diffuse it into the paint itself. And so that it's not like harshly, it's not gonna cause the flower to be crunchy or anything like that, because it's getting diluted just like it would in a big bucket of stuff. Should I be going directly into the paint bottle with my paintbrush while mixing it with other colors? Probably not, but you know, I like to live on the edge a little bit. It's kind of similar to what I do with my Mod Podge bottle. Should I be adding my paintbrush into the bottle directly instead of pouring it out? No, I shouldn't be, but do I? Yep, all the dang time. Another thing you could do is to first go in, scrubbing in your darker color, straight paint, and then dip it into the light pink, which I'm gonna do in just a second. So can you see all that's going on there? And I feel like I want a yellow center to this one. I'm just gonna scrub that in. I'll have it already kind of on that lighter side. I don't want it to go straight in with yellow paint, so there we go. All right, so let's try. So this is where the flower itself was already wet, and then we went in with a paintbrush straight in from the dye, paint, whatever you want, however you want to call it, refer it to. This time, I kind of, normally I would probably spray it down with a little bit of water so that I don't make, so that I don't crack petals, but that's all right. We'll live on the edge. We'll see what happens. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm not going to go all the way out. I really just wanna focus on kind of this middle area, and I'm literally just like scrubbing it in there. Oh, you know, another thing, I'm gonna grab another, I wanna show you guys a couple more. The more I start playing, the more I'm like, oh, and then you could do this, and oh, you could do that, and it like leaves my brain all of the different fun things we can do until we actually get in there. So I wanna do a couple more things here, because I think this could be really pretty in another type of way. So now I'm kind of just randomly, I'm not making sure I get every single petal. I mean, this is a bad boy, big bad boy. There's no way I'm gonna be able to get like, well, there is a way I could do it. I'm not gonna take the time though to go through every single petal to make sure. You can though, you absolutely can. I'm just wanting to get some color dispersed. Some of it's getting up to the edges. That's okay with me too. How much fun. Okay, I remember I said I wasn't gonna go. I'm going on the outer petals, forget it. I want this color kind of going through in multiple different ways. I'm also being pretty like nonchalant about it, being a little rough, but not so rough that I'm breaking petals, but just scrubbing it in there. Not going necessarily all the way up to the top, but every once in a while it happens, and I will not get upset by it. Let's really get in there. Those little outer petals on the edges are a little bit more, I won't say fragile, but they open up a little bit more with a paintbrush being shoved in there. Okay, so here is the before. We're gonna dip it into here and we're gonna see what's gonna happen. I have a feeling I know, but just in case I don't, I will be pleasantly surprised, maybe? Or should we do, no, we'll do, Do we go with the darker color? No, okay, we'll go with the lighter color. I have more of that paint. Plus, again, big boy, and I never get the right size container. When you're using the extra large flowers, you probably want a bigger container for the dip dyeing portion of it if you're going to dip dye. Okay. So that's all in there. And then I'm gonna kind of just randomly, where there's some color peeking through, rub it out a little bit. But I think what I want to do is let this sit for a minute and have that color come to the surface on its own. And while we wait to see if magic happens, which I hope it does, it's starting to. Do you see that a little bit? Some of the colors starting to peek through. I want to try one other thing, so let's do that right now. Okay, so same situation, going in straight in with your dye mixture, your paint. And I'm not covering the entire petal, but I'm scrubbing it in there a little bit. And before it fully dries, and we've got a little bit of time, but don't be working too much on the scrubbing in and let it completely dry on you. Now, see, I should have had water on that one. If you're gonna do this technique, what I would suggest doing before you do it is to first spray your flowers down. Like if you're gonna keep the cream color, because that's my goal, to keep this cream color also within this flower. And this is just gonna be like an accent to it. What I would suggest doing is taking the flowers and spraying them down with just water or a water glycerin mix and opening the flower up first and then doing it and letting it dry. Let it fully dry in the shape that you want and then do your color details. So we've got that, and we'll put the cast off in this. So water bottle, just water in here. You could add glycerin, but I find that because we're gonna keep this mostly cream, the flowers are pretty naturally, like they're decently tough, that you don't really need to add the glycerin to soften them up. So I'm just going to spray my water where I have those scrub spots. I'm gonna let it sit for a minute in my hand. Could even take and disperse it a little bit more. Isn't that fun? While it's wet, dispersing the color a bit more. Trying though not to go up to your tippy top. And what I'm going to do, normally I tip it, right, and let it excess water come out. I do have some pooling in certain spots, but just for a short period of time, I'm going to set it in here to dry, and then whatever little bit of water is left, I'm going to dump it out. But I don't want a lot of that hot pink to get all the way to the top, so I'm gonna let it sit for a minute. We're not gonna go in with straight paint for this one. We'll go in with it already wet. And I am going to add water to this one. Just so I can kind of open those up a little bit more and not worry about them cracking too much. Oh, see now, right? You go from that to that. Instant transformation. So much fun. All right, so we're gonna kind of scrub down at the bottom. And since this is already wet, like it's gonna spread a little bit. So I don't know that I'm gonna add any more water to it. But it's this one's a little bit more, since the paint is already kind of wet, it's a lot easier to accidentally get some of that paint up on the top petals, but I don't know, it doesn't bother me too much. One more. We're gonna do that pink color. I kind of want to do both this pink and then put in that straight other pink. We'll see. We'll see. So I kind of want to, with my fingers, really move some stuff around. Okay. I feel like the yellow is really pretty in person, but via camera, I don't know if it shows up just as how cool it is. Also, I mean, this flower, because it's so shabby, is really fun to just kind of experiment with, and you can be a little messy, and it's just gonna work. it's gonna work. Oh, that's fun. We'll just add to it. We're gonna diffuse it, but I'm not going to touch it. We're gonna let the water do what the water wants to do. I'm not gonna rub it in like I would normally do. We'll let this dry and see what she looks like in the end. All right, you guys, they're done. They're still slightly damp, but let's go over again Miss Penny and how that bark starts to repel the dye. It's very, very evident in that yellow tone, but also in these two pinky tones. It still gives you some dimension, super, super fun. So again, if you love Sophia, but you haven't ever worked with Penny, that might be another flower to give a go. Now I can't say what's my absolute favorite. I mean, the best surprise out of all of them was that first flower we dip dyed into already settled paint. That turned out freaking fantastic. I love it so much. And I think my second favorite is probably the diffused hot pink one. Again, I said I wasn't gonna dip it upside down to let out the water, and I think that was a really good idea. And then I think this was the 3-toned. She's pretty amazing too. As close as you could possibly get to one of these, which is a complete accident and you never know what's gonna happen. This one was a little more controlled. We were kind of working through it together. Oh, so lovely. So stick around for a couple more weeks. We have a couple more flowers we're gonna deep dive into. Next week, I think you're gonna really love it. It is one of our top selling roses in particular. We've got a couple little tricks up our sleeve on how to work with that one in particular. So meet me back here next week for another Meet the Flower vibed tutorial. I haven't said meet the flower in a long time. That's basically what this is. We're introducing you to the different flowers. I also completely spaced mentioning if you would like 30% off any of our flowers that are regular priced, as well as greenery, craft supplies. I have something for you. Does that sound good? I think so. Use the code YouTube30 over at ohyourlovely.com to get all of those things I just mentioned 30% off, as long as they are regular priced. If they're on sale, no go. No double dipping on those coupon codes at this time, but sometimes we also do that too. So, just so you know. All right, you guys, I will see you next week for another tutorial. I'm Stephanie from Oh You're Lovely. You, my friends, absolutely lovely. Bye, guys.